I'm gonna be building a kind of a whiteout system here, not for myself, but for someone special. And the whole reason behind it and all that is it's got a kind of an interesting, special story close to my heart. But before we get to that and we talk about the parts we chose and why, we gotta do this. Enhance your professional monitor setup with the Viewsonic VP27885K, featuring 100% sRGB, 99% DCI P3 colors, and HDR400 for deep contrast that align perfectly with Mac's industry-leading color performance. The VP27885K supports laptops, PCs, Macs, and more with Thunderbolt 4, USB-C, HDMI DisplayPort, and USB inputs. If you're looking to increase your screen real estate for projects, click the link in the description for more. So I am building for my best friend here, kind of like a dream rig. Now, I'm gonna be honest, he has a pretty nice system now, but the system that he has now, if you guys remember the Mega Man build that I did for my best friend a few years ago when the 4090 first came out, yeah, he has a 4090, yes, he has a 14900K and all that, but that system is gonna probably be given to his wife, who has a much older, quite a few generations old system. That's a full custom rigid tube build, the Mega Man build anyway. But I'm gonna be building a system for him today because today is an interesting day. My best friend, who I've known now for going on 20 years, his father and my father died on the same day, but almost 40 years apart. So it's really weird that we share this kind of an intimate day of the day we lost our dad is the same day, and just that it happens so much, so far apart. But anyway, besides that, I just wanted to kind of give him something special here. His wife could use an upgrade, so I'm gonna kind of force him to re-gift his system to her. And you might notice this is not a rigid tube or custom water-cooled system. In fact, the last system that I did for him, the Mega Man theme build with the frosted custom tubes, and the first time I learned how to drill and tap acrylic properly without cracking it and all that, that was his first ever custom water looped system. But the problem is, he, like me, is a PC enthusiast. He loves to change out parts and try new things. So when new GPUs come out or new CPUs come out, he's very much the kind of person who would run out and buy the latest and greatest thing at all costs. He's one of those people. I know how many of you feel about people like he and I, but we're enthusiasts and it's never gonna change. It's not a bad thing that we do that. So if you think that's a bad thing, well, sucks to be you. But moving on, when it's all rigid tube together, you can't swap out parts very easy. So when the 5090 first came out, I was like, man, as expensive as this thing is, I would love to toss a 5090 in his system. But then there was the issue of like 5090 blocks weren't really available for a while. And then the Delta Mate block came out, but he likes white themed builds. In fact, one of the first builds I did for him a long time ago was actually in an NZXT switch. No, it wasn't a switch, Phantom. The Phantom case, which was like Stormtrooper themed, the white and the black. He's had white systems ever since. So logically, I had to wait for a lot of the white parts to sort of come out and catch up. So let's talk about the parts we're gonna use and why. So I had been looking for an excuse to build in the Phanteks Evolve X2. I love the look at this coffee maker, if you will. I like the transparent, and you can see all the way through it right here. I like its narrow footprint. He doesn't have a huge apartment, or a condo in downtown Long Beach. So I wanna make sure that this fits on his pedestal that he's kind of using. Like the Alex drawer hack, like everyone kind of is doing in the PC world. So I'm looking forward to building with this because the white and the silver to me just looks so good. It looks so classy. Initially, I was gonna swap the silver and black parts, where I was gonna put black in here and the silver in the black, which looks really good, and kind of do a Stormtrooper theme, but I decided to just go ahead and stick with the all white. This is the white Tri-X, however you wanna pronounce it, 360 panoramic AIO. He fell in love with this when he first saw it. He loves the idea of the waterfall screen and all that. And although I think a couple other brands have them, and I think Asus is even coming out with their new Ryujin 4 in white that has a waterfall screen. This is it's weird to say a better bargain, because it's still over $300 I think I got it on sale on Amazon for under 300 bucks, but I think the Ryujin one's like north of $400 for an AIO, so I just could not bring myself to do that. But he loves the way the Trix screen looks, so we're using a white 360 for that. We'll be swapping out the fans with, I can't decide which I want to use. My biggest concern with Lee & fans is their white is more of a gray, and they've always been that way. I don't know what the deal is with their plastic, but I do like the connectivity of the Corsair Link system. So I bought both sets. That way I can kind of decide along the way which one I want to use, which aesthetically maybe goes better with this build. And then whatever I don't use will just go on the shelf and be used in a different build. Platform-wise, cannot skip or sleep on the 9950 X3D, same CPU I put in my system. He's currently got a 14900K, but if we're building the ultimate gaming rig, 9950 X3D is the absolute GOAT when it comes to productivity, which he does use his system for, productivity and gaming. It's literally the best of both worlds. Now for the motherboard, oh, and something else I want to point out, this is his first AMD rig. As long as I have known him, he has always had Intel, going all the way back to the E6300 Core 2 Duo, which I actually got because of him. But he has always had Intel systems. He's played around with AMD/Radeon before they were AMD, and then I don't think he's ever had a Radeon card after AMD acquired it. Not by choice, just he always buys like, what's go-to charts, sort by fastest, that's the one I want, right? That's kind of the mentality his systems have always been, and it's just not been that way for AMD to be on top. We keep hoping, but that's not the way it's been, therefore it hasn't worked out for him that way. Same thing kind of with CPUs, but now that AMD quite literally is just the undisputed king of gaming, there's no way we could sleep on this, his first AMD rig, so I'm looking forward to that. It's pretty much, you know, baked and marinated enough to where it's solid. Like I'm using it for my system again, and I think it's gonna be pretty solid. Now for RAM right here, I'm using a Trident Z5 Neo RGB RAM. This is a 64 gig kit at DDR5 6000 CL30, which I've always said anywhere between 6000 to 6400. CL30 is like the sweet spot for gaming. 64 gigs of it, so that's plenty. And the motherboard, I'm using the Aorus X870E Pro Ice for that white and silver aesthetic to go along with the system. If you look at the pictures in the back, you can see they're gonna absolutely perfectly match this case. But there's one other reason why too. Gigabyte has recently improved on their turbo mode. So I'm really kind of curious as to how well the turbo mode works on this for it to automatically kind of self-overclock and apply, you know, the cache core or the frequency core depending on your use cases. And it's supposed to give like 20 to 25% improvement. Haven't tested it on my rig yet. I do have an Aorus Master, I think it's a Pro Master, whatever they call it. It's a black version, but it'll be interesting to play around with that. For power supply, we've got the Lee & Edge 1300 Platinum. I want to make sure we have plenty of future-proofing since graphics cards seem to be nuclear powered these days. I want to make sure that we have plenty of power and obviously a good efficiency rating to go with our power supply. I don't know if I'll be able to use him, but I got him anyway because he loves, look, he loves everything you guys hate, okay? He loves the high-end expensive stuff. He loves the RGB. He's absolutely a sucker for blinking lights and stuff. Again, I don't know if I'm gonna use the Lee or the Corsair Link. I love how you can feel the magnets through the box. They're like, shoo. So funny. Boop. Anyway, I'll figure it out as I do the build. Both of them are super simple though. These are the wireless ones, which means they don't technically have to plug into a hub. They still have wires. Talked about that before. And then the Link is just nice to link them together and have a single cable pass through. I used the QX fans in my system here. I ended up using the LX for this because they do not have a QX reverse blade, which I think is really dumb. But they do have LX reverse blades. And since we are using the mid panel to intake to our GPU nice fresh air, I want a reverse blade so we're not looking at the back of a fan cage. Now you might be noticing there is no graphics card on the table. This is the one part that I did call in a favor. And you guys are probably gonna get triggered by this favor, but I'll be honest, I really don't care because the only opinion I cared about on this build is my best friend, who I am trying to spoil and honor on this day that kind of sucks. And that is an ROG Astral White. These technically are not out yet. I was not told there's an NDA. You guys might be like, oh my God, why are you talking to ASUS? I wanna point this out real quick. Way back in the day when we were first working with ASUS, we had a rep who we absolutely loved, was very much for the consumer, was very open ears to listen to feedback and critique, and rather than spew a bunch of Kool-Aid jargon back at us, listened and actually was able to enact many changes and such. Unfortunately, that rep, several years back, left the company and kind of moved around the industry a little bit. He is now back at ASUS. And in the short amount of time that he's been back, the amount of conversations, the amount of times we felt like we've been listened to, the amount of times we've been able to even like forward your guys' emails and messages onto them to get resolution to things that are just being handled poorly, I feel like we're back on the right track. Now, time will tell whether or not he is able to do the things that need to be done, or the giant corporate wheel is just too big to turn at this point. Is going to be that the proof will be in the pudding. All the cliches and analogies here, we're gonna hope that we're gonna see some real change at ASUS, specifically in their RMA, the way QA is handled, all of that sort of stuff. So, absolutely, positively had to go with the White Edition Astral. I was kind of getting to the end of my rope here on waiting because I really wanted to make it for today. And this is literally the last second. He is going to be here in less than 3 hours. So I have to assemble this and get an OS and everything on there and get the RGB set up. Although he loves the rainbow theme, I could just leave it puking and he'd be happy. I can't do that. He can go back and re-enable that himself if he wants. I at least have to set it up with a static light or just a vaporwave or something like that. I might set the lights to match the Astral card because it does purple blue out of the box because, well, Astral themed, right? Very Galaxy-ish. But anyway, I almost went to Micro Center and picked up the Gigabyte white version of the Gigabyte card we've had floating around in here because it had to be a white card. But the fact that this made it literally in the 11th hour, and I have to wonder, am I holding potentially the card that could beat Splave? I don't know. It's killing me not knowing if this is about to just be plopped in there and this could be a world record card. But we'll never know. But what we do know is I gotta start building and shut the fuck up because I'm out of time. Well, here it is and complete. It looks pretty good for a coffee maker if I don't say so myself. Yeah, a couple of things I gotta tweak, like make the 24 pin more straight and stuff like that. The streamers actually were the right direction on this card, believe it or not. My streamer upstairs is reversed. Maybe they do have two versions, I don't know. Everything is on and working. We learned that you can't use the wireless dongle, which you can just plug into your motherboard that way because the system kept trying to boot to it. So it was causing a boot to get stuck. But anyway, the white graphics card is actually interesting. It's just got a white bar that's sort of fading in and out instead of the Astral colors, which I guess is kind of neat, but we're gonna change all that anyway. I do like that the Lee & stuff defaults to white. So that's kind of nice. The only thing RGBing right now is the case, the motherboard, and the RAM, because that's all connected to the motherboard. So I'm gonna go ahead and use our Ventoy install drive, which we created, so I can now install Windows. So normal mode. This is what's awesome about this video. If you haven't seen this yet and you install multiple OSs on systems, you can just keep this ISO list growing. We can even create an ISO by imaging, and once our systems are like up and deployable, if you will, we image that by using something like, oh, I don't know, what's the image software we were using, Phil? Macrium, Reflect. You can use that to image your stuff. But I'm gonna get this OS installed real quick and then get on out of here, because it's actually I'm about 30 minutes late to where I wanted to be on this, but that's okay. We're making progress here, and I think we're gonna do all right. I think it's gonna be excited for this, but the white graphics card looks great in here. The Lian Li gray stuff isn't so bad once it's lit up. Oh, also too, there's no exhaust fan. And I'm sad about that, because the Lian Li fans are a little bit bigger than 120 millimeter because of the fact that they've got the trim pieces and the aluminum nice chamfered edge stuff. That makes it a little too big for that square. So yeah, we had a couple of things that were fitment stuff, which kind of sucked. For instance, if you can't really put the radiator and 28 or any fans, honestly, hanging down, you have to sandwich it. So rad on top of the tray or the plate, if you will, and then fans on the bottom, and sandwich it together, and then everything fits in there just fine. But I really would have liked to have had an exhaust fan in there, or an intake fan to add a little bit more fresh air right to the AIO, because once full gaming sessions are going on, this card is going to definitely turn this into a boiling coffee maker. But with that said, I'm gonna install the OS and get on out of here. I just wanted to share this build with you guys, because this build is a little bit sentimental. So I got the drive I forgot to mention. We got a 4 terabyte T710 crucial 14,500 megabyte per second read speed drive. That's insane. So 4 terabytes is gonna be plenty and very fast. You can see it right there, 3.6 terabytes available after the partition, but installing Windows and gonna get on out of here. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.